Introduction. This video is produced with the help of Google's Gemini Pro version 2.5 and Google Notebook LM. It showcases the power of modern artificial intelligence. With appropriate queries presented to Gemini, I have saved hundreds of hours of typesetting and manual drudgery of producing this video. Gemini can produce excellent results in a matter of seconds. This project was undertaken in order to understand how adverbs are formed in Sanskrit from verbal roots and nominal bases. My questions to Gemini were based on the construction of adverbs in English from adjectives, for example. I asked Gemini to dive into deep research, and the results are astonishing to say the least. The report generated by Gemini was then fed into Google's Notebook LM, which produced an excellent video better than what a normal human can produce. At least I personally could not have done that. One can milk Notebook for other goodies. For example, it can generate very good quizzes for your project together with hints, answers, assessment of your progress, flashcards, a study guide, and audio, as well as video for your project all in few minutes. Most of these goodies you will be able to find on my website at www.gtnmtn.com. In the coming months, I will be producing lots of educational material in mathematics, physics, Sanskrit, etc. Before I begin with a 7-minute video which summarizes the results of this investigation, I would like to say a few words about myself, keeping modesty aside. Regular visitors to my YouTube channel know me by name, although we may not have met. In about 10 days, the number of views on my channel will cross 12 million. By any standard, that is a remarkable achievement, especially since I do not believe in marketing and promotions through commercial avenues. My background. I did my Bachelor of Science from St. Xavier's College with physics major and mathematics minor in 1973 and Masters in Physics from Bombay University in 1975, after which I was selected in the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, better known as TIFR. I went on to do my doctorate in mathematics from the Courant Institute of Mathematical Sciences, New York University in 1982. I did my postdoctoral research at University of California, Berkeley until 1984, after which I joined the National University of Singapore and spent 15 years there until 1998 when I returned back to India. After a break of 2 years, I entered the IIT coaching and was a director of the Amity Institute of Competitive Examinations. In 2006, I joined Goldman Sachs at Bangalore. Since 2018, I have been staying in Allen, Texas. It was important for me to give this brief so that viewers can appreciate why I am dabbling in these modern technologies. For me personally, softwares like Gemini are a boon. It will accelerate my work exponentially. Needless to say, I have invested considerable amount of time learning Photoshop, which incidentally I use heavily to produce my videos on YouTube, Python, HTML, LaTeX, and many other tools. I have a massive collection of books, more than 5,000, in mathematics, physics, Sanskrit, computers, etc. So, now I can focus more on thinking about ideas and implementing them using these modern technologies. In the near future, I shall be producing a video which will harness the power of 3 state-of-the-art and very powerful softwares, Python, LaTeX, and Photoshop, with the help of artificial intelligence. The last 2 paragraphs, I hope, will be a motivating guide to the younger generation who may be, rightly, concerned about the social impact of the artificial intelligence tsunami, which is already creating huge waves. My concluding advice to them is, do not despair, rise up to the challenge, and embrace this new technology. There is no escape. And more important is they should get back to the traditional culture of spending time thinking about ideas and striving to achieve a good grasp on understanding the fundamentals. Rote learning has to end, and the next generation has to produce thinkers and not just laborers or computer technicians. Back-and-work culture has to end if we are to survive.
Have you ever really stopped to think about how we create new words? It can feel a little random, right? But what if I told you some languages have a system so logical, so precise, it's almost like a computer program running in the background? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most brilliant examples of this ever created, the word-building engine of Sanskrit. And to really get how amazing it is, we're actually going to start by looking at a language we all know, English.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with a quick word game in English, just to warm up. Then we'll dive right into the Sanskrit blueprint. After that, we'll get our hands dirty and look inside its grammar engine, find a really clever twist with how it handles adverbs, and then finally we'll zoom out and see why this whole system is just so incredibly important.
All right, let's kick things off with a little word game. The whole point of this is to show you that you're already a grammar whiz, even if you don't feel like one.
Seriously, think about it for a second. We start with the verb, right? Create. But what if we want to talk about the thing that was made, or the quality of being the kind of person who makes things? Our language has a system for this, but what exactly is it?
And here it is, our intuitive system laid out for us. To get from create to creation, we slap on an ion. For creative, we add "ive." For creatively, we just tack on a lily. See? We do this all the time without even thinking about it, just snapping these little building blocks, these suffixes, onto words to give them a completely new job in a sentence.
So English has this system of suffixes, but let's be honest, it's a bit messy. It's got all sorts of exceptions and weird rules. Now imagine a language that takes that same basic idea, but engineers it into something, well, perfect. A precise, beautiful, logical system. That, my friends, is Sanskrit.
And this isn't just some hypothetical question. More than 2,000 years ago, a grammarian in ancient India named Panini did exactly this. He mapped out the entire Sanskrit language with such incredible logic that his grammar is often called a literal machine for generating words.
So here's the fundamental principle, the core of the whole system. Every word is built from just two parts. On one hand, you have the prakriti. That's your base, the raw material, like a chunk of clay. And on the other hand, you have the pratyaya. That's your tool, the suffix you use to shape that clay into something new and useful.
And the system gets even more organized from there. You don't just have one big, messy toolbox of suffixes. Oh no, you have two highly specialized kits. The crit suffixes, they have one job and one job only. They attach to verbs. The tadita suffixes, they only work with nouns. It's this perfect, clean division of labor.
Okay, now for the really cool part. Let's pop the hood on this grammar engine and see how these suffixes actually work, because this is where the hidden genius of this whole thing really starts to shine through. All right, let's take a real-world example. How do you go from the idea of to drive to the person who does the driving, a driver? Well, Sanskrit has a specific tool for that job, a suffix called nvol. And yep, you're seeing that right. It starts with that kind of funny-looking N. Just hang on because that letter is where the magic is. And this tiny, elegant little phrase is the actual rule or sutra from Panini's grammar. It isn't even a full sentence. It's more like a line of code. It's a command that basically tells the language engine, hey, to make the doer of an action, you're going to use the nvol suffix or the trich suffix.
And here is where it all comes together. Look at that nuvol suffix. That very first letter, the na, it doesn't even show up in the final word. So why is it there? Because it's not a sound, it's a coded instruction. It's a command that tells the vowel in the root word to power up, to strengthen from a to a. The rest of the suffix becomes aka, and boom, call plus nuvol becomes chalakaha, the driver. The instructions were hidden inside the suffix the whole time.
Okay, let's try another one. How do we get from the verb to create to the noun creation, the abstract act of creating? For this, Panini gives us another suffix, ktin.
And again, just look at how simple and elegant the rule is. Just two words. It basically says, when you want the feminine form, use ktin. That's it. That's all the instruction the entire language engine needs. Now check this out, because it's the other side of the coin. If that num we saw earlier was an on switch, the K at the start of ktin here is a blocker. It's another silent instruction, but this one says, whoa, hold on. Do not change the root vowel, so kri stays kri. The suffix simplifies to t, and you get kritihi, creation. It's a whole system of triggers and blockers, all hidden in plain sight.
So, you might be thinking, this system is just a perfectly organized mirror of what we do in English, but let's look at one place where Sanskrit takes a completely different and, frankly, a very, very clever path. Right, so in English, if we want to turn the adjective beautiful into the adverb beautifully, we have to create a whole new word by adding li. Sanskrit's approach is way more efficient. It just asks, why make a whole new word when you can just use a different form of the one you already have? So it takes the adjective for beautiful, sundara, and just shifts it into its neuter form, sundaram, to mean beautifully. And this right here, reveals a core philosophy of the language. It's a functional shift, not the creation of a brand new word. Instead of adding another Lego brick to the structure, it just turns the brick it already has to face a different direction.
It's just an incredibly elegant and resourceful way of thinking.
So we've seen how this engine works, how it combines parts, and how it sometimes takes these brilliant little shortcuts. But what's the big takeaway here? Why is this system considered one of the greatest intellectual achievements in human history?
The absolute genius of the Paninian system is how predictable it is. You have a limited set of roots, that's your data. You have a limited set of rules, that's your algorithm. And from that very finite toolkit, you can generate a massive, completely logical vocabulary where the origin of every single word is crystal clear. It's generative, it's efficient, and it was all figured out thousands of years before the first computer was even imagined.
And here's the ultimate payoff. When you finally understand this system, you stop just memorizing endless lists of words. Instead, you learn the blueprint. You see the architecture of the language itself. You don't just know what a word means. You understand how it was built and why it even exists in the first place.
And that's really the thought we'll leave you with. Panini didn't invent this system out of thin air. He discovered the logic that was already there. The fact that a natural, living, human language could be described with such perfect algorithmic precision, well, it's a pretty stunning testament to the deep, logical structures that might just be built into human thought itself. Thanks for joining us.